Mitt just opening his remarks at the University of Utah at the Hinckley Institute. Now, that's named after a rather famous member of the LDS Church, but who probably helped fund it. Just keep in mind, though, it is also the name of an attempted presidential assassin or political assassin. Not that we're drawing any connections here, considering Romney implied there was a bombshell in Trump's tax returns. All right. Thank you, Mitt. Casper Milquetoast writes again. Hey, I want to tell you about our friends at Dream Room Design. They joined our program a few weeks ago, and we've been telling you, of course, with the weather getting better, a couple of days, over the next few days, we're looking at high temperatures in the 60s with plenty of sunshine, and that means you may want to spend more time sitting out on your sunroom. And, of course, even if it's not a cold or it's a hot day or a cold day, it doesn't really matter, but it protects you from the elements. The benefits are you can enjoy your deck or patio with no bees, mosquitoes, wind, dust, and blowing rain and snow. And you have that usable space year-round. Operable windows with screens, and they create a flow of air when you'd like it and you need it. And you can close those whenever you'd like to keep the outside elements away. Each room designed and engineered for your specific conditions. In fact, customized. They specialize in building sunrooms over at Dream Room Design. Patio enclosures with many different styles to choose from. Those sunrooms can have glass or solid roofs or a combination of both. They can even enclose an existing covered deck or patio, converting it into a beautiful enclosed sunroom. Telephone number to reach our program this morning, 736-0300, 736-0300. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. You're up next. You're on the air.
Thank you. I just wanted to, you cut me off too quick. I want to talk.
I'll tell you what, I want to get to some other callers. This is not free form, and it's not like the public park where everybody gets an opportunity. You're up next. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bill. This is Pat.
Sure, Pat.
Romney had his chance, and he blew it.
Oh, boy, did he ever.
So he's kind of a sore loser right now, and I think he ought to just go back to knitting or whatever he's doing now. And and when he was up against Obama walked all over him. He didn't stand up for anything. He tried to be the nice guy, and when you're going up against a Chicago thug, you got to be tougher than that, and
yeah.
He did accomplish it.
Chicago thug is a great description. I mean, Obama's, they call him, a street organizer? That was basically being out there throwing a few elbows.
Yes, it just, so anyway, I like Cruz, I like Trump. I like Trump maybe a little bit better because I can see Cruz standing with his own people that don't like him being a wall, and he's not going to accomplish anything, and he can't talk to the public like Trump can. I think if they try to do that to Trump, he'll walk all over them.
Yeah, thank you for the call. Trump will have the bully pulpit, more so, I think, than Ted Cruz would. I do believe that here's the thing with Trump. Everyone says, well, he switched positions a lot. A lot of people have. I admit that. I do believe Trump is sincere in wanting to turn this country around. I read where Jeff Sessions was first attracted to Trump all the way back a decade ago, when Trump said that he could do the renovation of the United Nations in New York City for half the estimated cost. And Sessions said, I knew at the time that he was a man of action. On the other hand, the thing I do know about Ted Cruz is Ted Cruz believes it. Always has believed it. And that's been the difference for me. Now, Cruz was not going to be my first choice, but he was always in my top tier. I looked at Cruz, and I looked at, of course, I loved Rand Paul, and I loved Bobby Jindal. They're gone. Now it's Cruz for me. But if Cruz is out, then it's going to be Trump for me. I don't believe that we're going to find somebody in a third party that is going to be able to pull it through. Speaking of Cruz, he was referring to Hillary Clinton last night while appearing on Fox News. Take a listen for a moment. He expects the woman is going down.
This is an ominous development for the Clinton campaign and for Democrats as a whole. This suggests that the investigation is moving to a whole other level, and granting immunity means that they'll now question this individual and get all the facts of what he did, and in particular, what Secretary Clinton told him, what her close associates told him, what they knew and what they instructed. And that suggests that the legal jeopardy is just getting greater and greater. And that, Megan, really underscores the need for Republicans to nominate a strong candidate to beat Hillary in November, because I think she is going to be a badly wounded candidate. And if we nominate a strong Republican nominee, we're going to win this general election.
You know, it's fascinating because the Republicans have been saying all along, is she going to make it? Is she actually going to make it to November? I mean, there is a greater chance than zero that Hillary Clinton will be indicted. And then what happens to this race?
Then you have a mess. Then you have the Democrats in complete chaos, and who knows? There's speculation that they try to parachute in a Joe Biden or a John Kerry. I'll confess I don't consider myself an expert on the internal politics of the Democratic Party, but in my view, regardless of who they end up running, whether they run Hillary, whether they run Bernie, or whether they run some other socialist, we need to nominate a strong conservative, because that's the only way to win, the only way to beat Hillary.
My prediction is Cruz actually wins Idaho next week because it's a closed Republican primary. He's appearing, of course, last night on the Fox News channel on the Kelly File with Megyn Kelly. I've got more coming up. In fact, one of those other minor parties could end up nominating a guy who is a suspect in his neighbor's murder. I kid you not. And he says he thinks he can win, running as a third-party candidate. Yeah, he'll go to Washington. He'll slay them all right. I was mentioning we're getting into some warmer weather. Just briefly, of course. It's going to rain Sunday. Well, we're forecasting it's going to rain Sunday, and then it's going to be a little cooler again next week. But we will see a couple of days of 60-degree temperatures Friday and Saturday. That's the prediction. Plenty of sunshine tomorrow, so if you're looking for a day to play hooky, not that we're recommending that. Speaking of the warmer weather coming, we keep telling you, you got to get window tints if you have a lot of glass in your home or your business, because that will cut down on that radiated heat coming in, especially this summer, by 3/4, which means your air conditioning unit won't work as hard, which means you'll save a great deal on your electric bills and you'll end up paying for the window tints. You can get a free estimate by calling Tint Lady. In fact, you can call them at 736-8469 or go online at tintladyidaho.com. This locally owned and operated company has been in business a quarter century in Twin Falls. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday by appointment only. And we need to point out, Tint Lady has a new address, 127 Filer Avenue. They're at the corner of Washington and Filer. You can't miss it, right around the corner. And we do want to remind you, they're closed on Sundays. And don't squint, get tint. It's 9:45. It's 44. Bill Colley with you on Top Story this morning on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Haven't given it out yet this morning. My email address is bill.colley@townsquaremedia.com. The email bill.colley@townsquaremedia.com. Also, the telephone number, if you'd like to reach our program, that's 736-0300, 736-0300. Caller joining us. You're up next. You're on air.
Bill, I think this has been so telling. These guys talking about getting Trump to show his tax returns because there's going to be a bombshell in there. Well, of course there's going to be a bombshell in there. They're going to find out that he uses every law to his advantage. Who doesn't, including the Democrats? I mean, it's just ridiculous. He's flat out admitted that he uses every law to his benefit. It's just stupid, but it's showing their hand. It's showing the fact that the establishment guys are now showing their stuff. They're making themselves look stupid. The people that Romney that used Trump to try and promote his candidacy now is attacking him. How dumb does that look?
I thank you for the call. Romney, of course, in the past has praised Donald Trump. The way I see it, Trump negated a lot of this early on. He's already admitted in his books that he was a womanizer. Now, you wonder sometimes if that was just the bravado. But he's already admitted that. That he's already admitted that he's a skirt chaser. He's already admitted that he's a deal maker. He's already admitted that he gave money to both Democrats and Republicans because that's the way the system worked. He's admitted that he had to work with mobsters because it was the only way to get jobs done in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and in New York City. In other words, he couldn't have done it. He's admitted that he had some business failures. Do you realize that most of the people in this country, the big risk takers, who've really been successful, they had a lot of failures in business. I mean, there's this notion that the people, the great titans that built this country, that they came along and they just, had that Midas touch and ding, and everything went well for them. But a great many of your great, in fact, it was T. Boone Pickens. T. Boone Pickens is a man similar to Trump with billions of dollars made and lost and businesses that went bust many times. Why, though, did they keep coming back? Because they, again, were risk takers. There was a fellow writing last week at one website, and he said, when Marco Rubio wrote a book, he got an advance of a few $100,000, and Rubio immediately went out and bought an $80,000 boat. Now, there's an old joke that says that the two best days in a boat owner's lives are when they first buy the boat and then when they sell it. But like a car, when you go buy a car, I'll tell you what, you buy a car off the showroom floor, it looks beautiful, it looks great. And then there's the old saying that it depreciates by a couple of $1,000s as soon as you drive it off the showroom floor. So Marco Rubio went out and bought himself a depreciable asset in his boat. And somebody pointed out if Donald Trump had been given $80,000, he would have turned around and he would have decided to sink it into a business. So yes, he has lost. I mean, all of these, but he has never. People say, well, he's a liar. Well, he claimed his earpiece wasn't working the other day when he was being asked by one of his inquisitors from CNN about the KKK and about, what was the other argument? Oh, about David Duke, the former Klansman, and he wouldn't denounce them. Well, yeah, but he'd already publicly denounced them a couple of times in the previous couple of days. So maybe he's right. He was having difficulty with what's called your IFB. That's the thing that goes in your ear. I'll tell you what, I used to be in television, and I remember I used to sit there and I'd have producers talking to me before I'd go on air, and you know what I'd hear? What's that? Can you give me that again? Double boxes. I remember one time I was covering, Bill Clinton was rehearsing for the debates at the Chautauqua Institution in 1996. George Mitchell came in to play the role of Bob Dole. This is an enclosed community on Chautauqua Lake in the very southwestern corner of New York, not far from Buffalo. And I was sent there to cover the story with my photographer, and we had a satellite truck. And I kept getting what was called mix minus, and that is you're talking and then you're hearing your voice back in a feedback loop 5-6 seconds later. I have to pop the dang thing out of my ear just to do the story. And again, I'd hear these guys talking to me from far away. It's like a bee buzzing. So I'm just at this point, I'm thinking, he's already admitted the womanizing. He's admitted the fact that he bought politicians. He's admitted he worked with the mob to get his buildings put up. What more would he have to lie about, for crying out loud? He's very much been in the confessional. You're up next. And Hillary Clinton, by the way, 4 guys got killed in Benghazi, and she keeps saying there's nothing to see here. You're on the air with Bill Colley on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Pretty close. You almost were. 736-0300. That's 736-0300. Some people may still be thinking they're listening to the bees buzz. Well, if that's the case, it may be your hearing. And we'd like to recommend Dr. Christine Pickup of Mount Harrison Audiology. She's located in the medical building at 1218 9th Street, Unit Number 2 in Rupert. Telephone number 312-0957, or you can find her office online at mountharrisonaudiology.com. And she asks if you're on high blood pressure medicine or perhaps even a diuretic, because those medicines, they can affect your hearing. Hearing health is a reflection of your overall health. When you come in for a free wellness hearing screening at Mount Harrison Audiology, Dr. Pickup is going to review your medications and also discuss ways to protect your hearing in the future. This was interesting. This was on the Fox News feed this morning. Speaking of the Klan, those Klansmen who got beat up the other day in Orange County, California, you may have heard about this. They were attacked by a group. What they were doing is they went out and they were holding up signs that say White Lives Matter in response to the racists on the other side. But you see, the media loves the Black Lives Matter crowd. Doesn't matter how many cops get killed because of those people. It's like, oh, but they're an oppressed minority. Well, you get these guys, these white guys who go out and they hold up these signs. Word gets around they're doing it, so some liberals come out and start to beat them up. One of the liberals got stabbed by the point of a flag, and of course the immediate story was, Klan attacks liberals. Well, the police released all of the Klansmen saying, no, they were just defending themselves, and they had a right to protest, and just like everybody else does, it doesn't matter if you like what they think, that's not how America works. William Quigg is a member of the group that got beat up by the leftists. And he was telling Fox News that the Klan isn't your father's Klan.
We are not the so-called KKK of the 1800s and the 1950s. We don't hang people. We don't go and cause trouble. We are a white Christian organization. We are tired of all of this. Black Lives Matter.
You know, Mr. Craig, the only thing I could tell you is this. If you're no longer like your predecessors in the Klan, then why join the Klan? He said, we're a white Christian organization. Well, so is the YMCA, or it used to be. Why not join the Y? And then you could go out there. Nobody ever comes and beats anybody up because they belong to the YMCA. Sorry, but just, yeah, well, we're not the same Nazi party any longer. We only cook half the people that we used to. They do have it. See, there's a public relations thing going on here, and these guys haven't quite figured that out yet. Well, I joined Tamerlane's army, and I only joined because I really liked the uniform. It's got nothing to do with the raping and pillaging. 9:54, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. It's 46. If you really feel that way, I have no use for Black Lives Matter. I think that it's all designed. It probably came out of the White House to try to divide the country before the election this year. On the other hand, I don't go joining the KKK so I can say, well, we need a counterbalance. There are a number of other organizations you can join that have much better reputations. That's all I'm saying, and I'm sorry that these guys in California haven't figured that out yet. Speaking of strange people who are now getting involved in American politics, I came across this morning at WashingtonExaminer.com. Software developer promises to defeat Trump and Clinton. The self-described cybersecurity legend who created the first commercial antivirus software is promising to defeat both Donald Trump and Hillary by running as the Libertarian Party's candidate in the November general election. Now, Libertarian Party actually has a nominating convention. Gary Johnson has been their guy for a long time, likely will be again this year, former governor of New Mexico, although I think he was a Republican at the time, but he has switched. We've seen that happen in the past. We've had a number of people who've jumped ship. Some Republicans have joined the Constitution Party, some have joined the Libertarian Party, but occasionally these parties do attract fruitcakes. If I can't win, the Libertarians should just give up, said John McAfee. That was in an interview he did with U.S. News and World Report. Then he went on to say, this is the only chance we have, this opportunity to enter a clown show dressed as and acting like the people who are actually suffering in the country. Trust me, I'll have no problem whatsoever winning this election. When I travel, I'm constantly stopped by people asking for photos. I wouldn't know who this guy was if I crossed him on the street, and I saw his picture this morning, and he looked frightening as all get out. He looked more frightening than those Klansmen who were standing out there in Orange County having a demonstration the other day and got beat up. McAfee founded McAfee Associates in 1987, from which he became a multimillionaire as a software developer. Now, he is not a guy you would necessarily want over to your house for dinner. Would you want him as President of the United States? If you think Donald Trump, perhaps, is a little bit shady, take a listen to this. McAfee has gained a more eccentric reputation over the last several years, most notably for fleeing Belize. Now, Belize is a tiny little country in Central America. He did that when he was sought for questioning over the death of one of his neighbors in the country. He currently lives in Tennessee. There has been some speculation that he may have been involved in the death of his neighbor and that his neighbor's death was not from natural causes. And he wants to run for president. The Libertarian Party claims it's the third largest party in the country. He could be their nominee. I'll tell you what, some of these parties, I was a registered Libertarian for many, many years. In fact, for a time, one of my friends was my state party chairman. And I'll never forget running into him because in 2004, they had the opportunity to nominate Gary Nolan. Gary Nolan is a guy who works at a radio station now in Denver. Gary Nolan had been a talk show host, worked all over the country, was in syndication for a while on the old USA syndicated network. Gary Nolan he's about 6.5 feet tall, good-looking guy, great voice, very articulate from all of his years in talk radio. Gary Nolan was seeking the Libertarian nomination for president, and I thought, this is a guy who knows how the media works. He's media savvy. He'd be the best candidate likely the Libertarians have had in decades. So, along comes Gary Nolan, he goes to the convention. He loses the nomination. They elect somebody who showed up from some, from French Lick, Indiana or Kentucky or Tennessee or somewhere, and gave the guy the nomination. And I said to my former state chairman, "What were you people thinking?" He said, "Oh, well, the membership at the convention liked his speech better." Hello, how do you expect you're going to ever get any attention if you keep You got a guy here who's got a background as a syndicated talk show host, good looking and articulate, and he knows how to get on the radio and spread the message. And you go with this bumpkin instead, and, well, yeah, but the membership... You people, you know what? You're just as delusional as the Republican establishment. They do smoke a lot of dope at those libertarian conventions, I suppose. It's part of the sacrament. Maybe they were all a little bit buzzed when they were actually voting. And you never heard of their candidate again. Gary Nolan went back into radio. 9:58, coming up on 9:59, Bill Colley saying, hey, God willing, if the creek don't rise, I get to do this all over again tomorrow. Maybe we'll have a candidate on the air. We're only a few days away from Idaho's presidential primary. Funny thing, nobody's calling. Not that they have anything to be afraid about. I'm just nice to everybody. Rush Limbaugh is coming up following the news from Fox at 10 o'clock. We'll have Glenn Beck at 4 and sandwiched in between, Sean Hannity. Have a great day.